art coming at you from South by Southwest.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
Long live art.
Live music at the Sundance Music Cafe.
You're watching Mountain Dew Presents Music at thepalestra.com.
Welcome back to Music at thepalestra.com. I'm Julie Garcia. Our first stop in search of the Delta Blues wasn't a stop at all. We were on the move in Memphis, Tennessee with local musician and tour guide Memphis Jones. Mr. Memphis let someone else do the driving. His hands were full.
Long distance information, give me Memphis, Tennessee. People come to Memphis from all around the world to be together and stand in a room and listen to somebody just tear it up on a stage. You know what I mean? Not because they've heard the guy's name, not because they've heard the song that the guy's going to be playing, but because they know when they come to Memphis, Tennessee, it's unlike any other city in the world, and when they get here, they're going to get delivered a whole plate full of solid gold.
Millions of tourists visit Memphis to see Graceland. Nothing against Elvis Presley's mansion turned shrine, but we wanted to learn where the music came from, well before the king was crowned.
I'm gonna cross Beale Street doing a song that was written right here on it by the Memphis Jug Band. Well,
the blues came from all over the Delta, but Jones says it took a Memphis man to get it all down so we wouldn't forget.
that is the W.C. Handy house right there. They moved it over here to Beale Street. W.C. Handy, regarded around the world as the father of the blues. Not the first man to play them, not the first man to write them, but the first man to notate them and share them with the rest of the world in written form.
The songs and names echo throughout Memphis, but when you visit some landmarks in the city, you don't always know what you're seeing.
Doesn't look like much, does it?
Whose house you say, Aretha?
Aretha Franklin. Until she was 2 years old. A lot of sites in Memphis, Tennessee attached to huge legends, names known around the world. End up looking just like this. Some people call that ambiance. But we'll catch up sooner or later with the rest of the world. Know a good thing when we see it.
The fate of Aretha Franklin's humble birth home was, until recently, the fate of the world-famous Stax Studios and neighborhood. With Stax resurrection, the neighborhood is coming along, too.
You know, this is the old Stax neighborhood. This was a blue-collar neighborhood, and the kids around here, you know, we're not coming up in affluent families, but just a whole lot of music in this area. These kids, you know, ended up going to a school not far from here. We'll pass by at Booker T. Washington High School. They call it the studio that built a school. The school that built a studio. Get it right.
Like a Tennessee spring welling up cool water, the music that bubbled up from Stax and the neighborhood is astounding.
Well, don't you ever be...
Looking is fine, but it was time to get off the bus, take a stretch, and touch music history.
Are y'all ready to come in here and see the best thing Memphis got to offer you? Come on. In a river trouble, yes, just about to drown. Just hold on, 'cause I'm coming.
Our guide Memphis Jones told us that after the talent inside Stax, the building itself was responsible for the unique sound of those classic soul sides.
The sound that they were trying to capture was an accident because they had moved into a movie theater, taken out all the seats, and hung up curtains basically to make it look nice.
Yeah.
But by moving into a theater, they had a room that had no parallel surfaces. Nowadays, you're going to pay a guy $1 million to design you a studio with no parallel surfaces if you're going to build one.
In the segregated South, Stax Studios was unique. Black and white worked side by side. Memphis Jones says the gun that killed Dr. Martin Luther King just a few miles away destroyed the soul of Stax on that awful April day in 1968, too.
They said that day they came out of the studio to take a break, and they stood right here where we're standing now, and they said there was just this very strange silence and stillness. Just nothing was happening. And someone came up about an hour after it happened, came in the studio and asked them if they'd heard what had happened. And, you know, they explained it, and it shocked everyone. And they said really that night, you know, the mood had darkened inside of Stax. Suddenly, you know, lines were being drawn and sides were being taken.
Stax limped along for a few years after King's death, but the magic was gone. The studio was boarded up in 1975 and torn down in 1989. Today, Stax is alive again with the Stax Museum. Most importantly, right next door, the future Aretha Franklin's and Isaac Hayes' are being created at a public school bearing the Stax name.
You walk by a public school in Memphis when school lets out, and everybody's glad that school is out, you know, and they just, you know, they get out of there. But here, there's a lot of hanging out, there's a lot of back and forth. You see that there's a musical community that's that's already being fostered here with these kids, just in the same way that Stax Studio was doing. Now the school is continuing to do it.
You can see the Stax Museum in Memphis, Tennessee for yourself. Find out more at Soulsville.com. The best way to visit the museum is to take Memphis Jones's tour. All the info you need is at BackbeatTours.com.
Coming up on Music at the Palestra.com's Blues Special.
Before we leave Memphis, we'll go to class with University of Memphis musicologist David Evans. You might say his course is multimedia. We'll take shelter from the sweltering Mississippi summer at Muddy Waters' house, and we'll span the generations in Mississippi, and meet a teenage blues guitar whiz right here in Columbus.